So in the previous video, I explained what edit distance means. Just a quick recap. Edit distance is the number of edits that are being made to a given translation suggestion, or what we call feed, and the actual confirmation. So if you have, for instance, 6 words and 3 edits, that's a 50% edit distance, right? But again, refer to the video in the link above if you're interested in seeing more about edit distance and what it means. But when we talk about edit distance, we're already observing many languages performing at very significantly low edit distances. So for instance, if you take a language pair like English into Spanish, our latest study showed edit distances below 5.5% using BureauWorks context-sensitive translate. What that means is on average, translators are making less than 5% edits to the suggestions they're getting. Think about it, 5% edits. 5% means that if you have 20 words, only a single word was added, changed, or moved to make 5%. So 5% may seem like a large number from a percentage perspective, but from an actual edit distance perspective, it means very little, actually close to nothing is being changed, right? We're talking about 1 in every 20 words, approximately. But the beauty of language is that this 1 in 20 words could mean the difference between being perfectly understood and being colossally misunderstood. So that's the fascinating thing about language, and fascinating thing I would say about art in general, right? It's all about the details, and it's all about knowing which word gets to change, right? There's this parable that I find particularly interesting, and I'm not going to recite it perfectly, but it's basically the parable about someone who had to repair a ship, and they call the master ship fixer. and again, I'm really misparaphrasing this parable, but the essence works. And they call the master shipbuilder, and the master shipbuilder goes and uses the hammer once and hammers one part of the ship and says the ship is repaired, it's good. Oh, that's great, the ship owner says, how much do I owe you? And they say, well, you owe me 5,000. And the ship owner is perplexed. Well, why should I pay you 5,000 if you took literally 30 seconds to perform the job? And the ship fixer says, well, because I knew exactly where I had to hammer. And this parable, the beauty for me is that it's not about the time. It's about all of the knowledge that it takes to know exactly which one of those 20 edits is the important edit. And this gets me into a very interesting perspective around user behavior, right? When we talk about users who know exactly what needs to be changed, users who feel comfortable using this methodology, we're talking about very high efficiency, because it turns out to be mostly reading and a few edits here and there. Again, not to diminish the importance of those edits. And I think that's one thing that people need to understand about language, right? It's not because, let's say, the English into Spanish is 95% there, that 95% is good enough. Because when it comes to language, even 99% may not be good enough. It depends on the context, it depends on the use case, it depends on the audience, it depends on what's at stake, and it depends on also on what that 5% delta looks like, right? What does it look like? Does it mean that certain names that shouldn't have been translated are now translated, and now the translation is really hard to understand? Does it mean that somehow gender bias was introduced into the translation? Does it mean that some very important parts are really complicated now to understand? Again, the beauty of edit distance is that you cannot equate low edit distance with high quality. Not necessarily, right? And the beauty from a translator perspective is that for many, many years, volume was the measure, right? Volume. So the number of words that you translated in a day, in a week, in a month was directly correlated with pay. But we're moving into a world where the volume isn't going to mean that much. What really is going to mean something is the quality of and the importance, the significance of the change that was introduced. And that leads to all kinds of different kinds of issues and situations where for us it's at least with current tech available, it's very, very difficult to ascertain deterministically the correlation between the edit and the gain, right? From a quality perspective. How can you measure that? Let's say that by deleting this word, by adding this word, by moving this word, what was gained? What was like from that specific change, right? Sure, you can assess the overall quality of a translation. You can assess the feedback that people are getting. You can assess how it performs from a Google Analytics perspective. But it's really, really difficult to ascertain deterministically the direct correlation between the edit and the quality gain. And that's part of the challenge that we're moving towards, right? There's immense value in the translator's intellectual prowess and knowing exactly what needs to be changed. And I think part of what we want to talk about is how do we create tools that allow translators to comfortably move into this new paradigm where it's not about volume, but rather about knowing where and what to change. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to like and subscribe if you like this content.